Good morning. Welcome to the session on non-representative or non-probability sampling methods. I am Dr. Sandeep Sugadan, working in Quest International University, Malaysia. Non-probability sampling method is such a sampling method in which each individual in the sampling frame will not have equal probability to be selected in the sample. These are the examples of non-probability sampling methods: convenience sampling, consecutive sampling, purposive sampling or judgmental sampling, QUOTA sampling, and snowball sampling techniques. Non-probability sampling method is otherwise known as non-representative sampling method. Why it is non-representative? Each individual in the sample is not a representative of the sampling frame or the population. Now we can go through different sampling methods. First is convenience sampling. It is otherwise known as availability sampling. Is a non-probability sampling method. In this method, sample is taken from a group of people who are easy to contact or easy to reach. For example, standing at a mall or a grocery store and asking people who are visiting there, to answer questions would be an example of a convenience sampling. Please see the picture shown. The researcher wants to collect some data from people, but she collects data from some people who are walking around, walking in the road. Samples are selected according to the convenience of the researcher. This is a diagram showing convenience sampling. Next is consecutive sampling. Consecutive sampling, is a non-probability or non-representative sampling. Involves taking every subject who presents herself or himself over a specified time period who satisfy inclusion criteria. You are working in a clinic and you are collecting all patients attending the clinic during a time period who satisfies inclusion criteria. So that's an example of consecutive sampling. These are not strictly random techniques, but they avoid selection bias. Whoever attends the clinic and satisfies inclusion criteria will be selected. So there is no selection bias. Consecutive sampling is also known as enumerative sampling or total enumerative sampling. Every subject meeting the criteria of inclusion is selected until the required sample size is achieved. Next is purposive sampling or judgmental sampling. Purposive sampling is a non-probability or non-representative sampling method. If a researcher is interested to collect data about top performing students in a class, so he is going to a class and he or she is sampling only those top performing students. That is an example of purposive sampling or judgmental sampling. The sample will be purposively selected because they meet a certain characteristic or criteria. Next is QUOTA sampling. In QUOTA sampling, a population is first segmented into mutually exclusive subgroups, as in stratified sampling. Do you remember stratified sampling method? The reference population or sampling frame is segmented into mutually exclusive subgroups, as in stratified sampling. Then A fixed number is compulsorily selected from each of the subgroup. Now the subgroup may not be having sufficient number, but the quota will be kept open till the sufficient number people are recruited. So what is the problem? Some quota will get more number of people than actually there in the sampling frame at that moment, because the quota is kept open. Maybe after 1 week or 2 weeks, the quota will get filled. Some quota will be limited. Okay, even if more number of people are there in some category, the quota for that category will be limited. Understood? So that's a disadvantage of the quota sampling. Some category will get more privilege, some category will get less privilege to be selected in the sample. A fixed number is compulsorily selected from each of the subgroup, kept open till filled. It is a non-random sample, so it is a non-representative and a non-probability sampling. This is an example. One category is male above 50 years. So they will select all the people in that category, male above 50 years. If the sufficient number is not reached, that quota will be kept open till more number of people join that sample, that category of the sample. Next is snowball sampling. Snowball sampling is a non-probability or non-representative sampling. It's very interesting. Snowball sampling is otherwise known as chain sampling or chain referral sampling or referral sampling. This is a sampling technique where each of the study subjects recruit future subjects from among their acquaintances. You are taking 3 samples. Then those 3 individuals will bring 3 more people each. Okay, from their acquaintances, from their relatives, from their friends, like that. Okay, the sample group will grow like a rolling snowball. It's a non-representative sampling and it is a biased sampling also, because the recruitment of new sample will be based on the acquaintance of the already selected sample. Okay, I will show you one picture. So first we are selecting 2 samples and those 2 samples will bring their acquaintances and relatives. So that's a snowball technique. It is used for qualitative research. In qualitative research, you are selecting nurses. 2 nurses will be selected and we will ask them, those nurses who is having experience in COVID-19, please bring those nurses who are having experience in COVID-19 nursing. So those selected sample will bring other nurses who are having experience. Okay, that's an example of snowball sampling. Now we will see some questions. A population is first segmented into mutually exclusive subgroups, just as in stratified sampling, and a fixed number is compulsorily selected from each of the subgroup. This type of sampling is known as quota sampling, because we are selecting a fixed number from each of the subgroups, right? Next question. Existing study subjects recruit future subjects from among their acquaintances, relatives or friends. This is an example of snowball sampling. Okay. Thank you friends. See you in the next video.